Okay, we're here starting a new year. Please like, subscribe, follow. You can. I'm on X even. I'm loading these to X. You go look at them on X. Like it there. If I'm saying anything worth anything, like it and let other people hear it too. Okay, help me out here. So as I said, it's the beginning of a new year coming in front of us. And interestingly, yesterday I came across a movie, an old 1936 movie based on H.G. Wells' story. The story was The Shape of Things to Come. The movie is called Things to Come. But the book was written in 1933. Now, you know H.G. Wells, probably, whether you understand it or not, from The Time Machine. He wrote The Time Machine in 1895. Uh, War of the Worlds. He wrote that in 1897. And you probably know more about it because of the 1938 um, Halloween scare movie, or excuse me, radio broadcast. Now, of course, they've made it into movies. You've seen it as a movie probably. But Orson Welles became famous about that. But that was written in 1897. And then he also wrote The Invisible Man in 1897. And in that 1901, he wrote First Men on the Moon. Okay, so he's been thinking about these fantastical things back when nobody else was thinking about it. So you think about this. He was writing about the Invisible Man, War of the Worlds, when the car wasn't even invented yet. Okay, people didn't have cars. Time machine, no car. I guess that's easier to dream about going ahead in time if you don't have a car to drive, right? I don't know. Anyway, this was written, so by the time this is written, he is an old man. He's getting old like me, right? And it's was the book The Shape of Things to Come in 1933. And as a movie in 1936. Now, this, just to give you some context of where he's at, in February 1933, Hitler became Chancellor of Germany. No wars going on. It's 1933. He's publishing this book. There's World War One has happened. In fact, you can tell as you watch the movie that World War II hasn't happened. The technology's there. Let's see. In August of 1934, Hitler becomes the Fuhrer, but not until September of 1939 does Germany invade Poland and World War II is kicking off. So the average person, the World War II technology that we're used to because we watch movies and things like that didn't exist. So these are, whenever they put out the movie, they've got the old biplane kind of planes with the wings up and that have or split. Uh, they're talking about gas warfare because World War One was about gas warfare. So the technologies of the war that is fought is based on World War One. Anyway, but my main point here is simply to say, so he's writing a futuristic novel that spans from 1933 all the way to 2106. So we're not there yet ourselves, but that's what it spans, and with what happens between those years, and so it's his imagination of that. Um, the movie ends with a once again technology wise the movie ends with a rocket that is shot to the moon, and it's using the technology of being shot out of a giant gun. So it's a rocket like a bullet, which of course rockets these sort of look like bullets, but it's shot out of the gun and to the moon. So uh, that's the context of the technology and the times. If you just sort of let you understand that he's not looking, he doesn't know what's happened. He doesn't know World War II has happened. He's writing it, but the story is about people have had World War One. It was devastating. It was terrible, and people knew about that. And people, I'm sure some people could imagine that there might be another world war that was just as bad or worse. And in this case, in the book, there is a war that is worse. And at least a European war that just wipes out everybody. They use gas to kill a lot of people. It's terrible. Um, and then after the war is over, it apparently no one wins, really, because everybody's just killed. Both sides kill each other. Of course, today we worried about that with an atomic war, but they were still concerned about the technology. Gas warfare, you can drop gas bombs, you can kill a lot of people in pretty terrific, ugly ways with mustard gas and stuff like that. But so the war happens, it ends, it devastates society throughout Europe, and then they have a plague, an infection that happens. It's a new sickness, and it's the people walk around. Whoever gets it, if you've seen our modern zombie movies, that's what they look like. They're walking around like zombies, except they're still alive and they're infected, and people are running from them and trying to stay away from them. And so they have a hero that shows up who starts shooting the infected people. And after a few years of killing everybody that gets infected, everybody runs from the infected people. Then the guy and his people show up and shoot the infected person, and they finally have no more infection. This is the location is Everytown. That's the name of the place. It's Everytown, and and he is the hero, and he's a thug, is what he is. He's brutish. He's a bully, but he's setting up his own state. So he has his state that he's imagining that he's the leader of a dictator of a great state, and he's constantly getting people who have some mechanical know-how, trying to get them to fix the planes and all this worn out old equipment so that they can do their own war against neighboring states that they're at war with, and so they can beat them and take them over and bring peace through war. Sounds sort of like ancient Rome, right? So that's what he said. They're just trying to fix the technology. Uh, I think about it when I hear this about the trying to maintain states. Well, that's what we're doing today in our current world political uh, situation. We have a new president. He's trying to say each state should be. We saw him in his previous term go to the United Nations, talk about how each state should take care of itself, etc. Each country should maintain its own borders, yada yada. So, of course, in the case of this situation, they're pretty sustain, sustain, they're just sustaining themselves. There's a word for that. Sustenance. Subsistence, that's what I'm trying to find out. They're at subsistence level of living pretty much. So then in the movie, a representative of the United Airmen shows up, and he offers the people a membership into the movement that he is representative of energy, of engineering and mechanical technocrats who are creating prosperity. And he says, where we live, we have factories and we're making planes, and we have an economy and trade, and everything is great. It's all peaceful, and we want to invite you people to be part of it. And of course, the tyrant, he just arrests him and holds him, and because he's not interested in being part of. Because he doesn't want to be part of it, and there's a reason for that. So the technocrats are defined by these following phrases. I just sort of picked them up as I watched the movie. One, they seek to end an end of all independent sovereign states. So again, that would be a problem for our new president because he obviously wants to be an independent sovereign state. Not so much a problem for some of our past presidents who clearly were trying to put us under a world dominance by different world organizations, making agreements which were not actual treaties and which shouldn't have held any power except for the fact that everybody just caved in and said, okay, whatever the president signed to, we'll do it. So that's the World Health Organization, the climate agreements, various things like that. But so That's what they want. Independent, no independent sovereign states who can stand up and say, no, our people aren't going to do that. Another one is they offered order and trade. Very beguiling, right? Because they have factories, etc., unlike the subsistence folks of the survivors of every town. And you might, as we think back and look back at history, we, seen this happen over and over again. You have the Roman peace, which lasted for 1,000 years, but it was not because everybody just said, hey, we want to be part of Rome. No, they were defeated peoples who were kept in place by an army that kept them in place. Not many of us would be all for that, I don't think. They promoted a Freemasonry of science. Both of those things. Freemasonry, I think, is an interesting term, according to what's going on in the world with Freemasonry, with in some people's opinions. And then a Freemasonry of science, though. So, that's what we're all about today, aren't we? Science. Science runs everything. And religion is stupid. Anybody believes in something of a faith, they're stupid, because clearly science tells you everything you need to know. I don't know about you, but I keep finding out that science proves that we know very little about much of anything as far as the whole world goes. I just on the internet, it just popped up as I was doing a search for something. It was a macro microscope. Anyway, a high-powered microscope, and it was showing these little creatures that are, things that are organisms, but they blow them up and they look like these hairy monsters, and it's just blows your mind. Now, what do we know about the insides of these hairy monsters? What do we know about their blood veins? There's so much we don't know about all kind of things. But science is going to solve everything. Well, it helps us in many ways, as long as we use it sensibly, right? But that's what these technocrats were offering: a brotherhood, a Freemasonry of science, and a brotherhood of efficiency. That was another, and they offered a new life for mankind. Sounds like a political speech, doesn't it? So, but it also sounds like, if you listen to the world trade folks, the people who try to create World Trade Organization and a global government and etc. This is the same stuff that they say, and some of our own politicians say it, and we like it, and we vote for them because they're giving us sweet words that we want to hear, and imaginations of things we'd like to have exist. But anyway, these technocrats, in the next stage, this one guy shows up from the technocrats, from the United Airmen. He gets arrested by the brutish dictator, and so the technocrats show up and they drop gas bombs on him. But these gas bombs are the gas of peace, and everybody goes to sleep, and then they come in and they take over everything. Once everybody is asleep, they're able to arrest them, etc. So the first thing that they do is, whenever they are taken over, is they arrest the what do they call them? Brigands. The bad guys. The unruly people. They go in and they arrest all those. That's the first thing you got to do. Arrest those people who don't agree with you. Sound familiar? And then they transform the town of Everytown. They transform it into a utopia. And years go by, and we sort of jump on into the future. And it sort of jumps from, let's see, it's like 1970. It starts in 1933. It jumps to 1976. Things are going pretty good by that time. No, that's when they get the takeover happens, 1976, and then it was like 1950 something or something when things are going pretty good. But the movie is finally ending. They jump all the way. They go finally move to 2000 2106, and at this point, uh, people liked what was going on. I guess initially, peace, prosperity, order. But what they were finding was that these people, these technocrats, were just moving things ahead, 90 to nothing. And by this time, now remember, this is a book written in 1933. So the imagination of going to the moon by another 25, 30 years just was beyond their scope of imagination, I guess. So they didn't imagine anybody going to the moon until 2106. And that's the stage you're at. Is they have now been working on the technology to go to the moon. They're going to go to the moon. They're going to colonize the moon. They're going to take over the moon, and then from there they're going to go to the next planets and the next planets. This is the vision of the technocrats: to keep going, to conquer everything, and bring peace and prosperity to the universe. But the people of Earth are now, and of every town, they're worn out. Many of them are. And they're saying, why can't we take a break? Why don't we keep pushing forward? And so you have a uprising that happens, and there's a race to the rocket to get to the rocket and shoot off to the moon before it can be stopped. The technology making progress is more important than anything to the technocrats, right? And so they succeed in doing that. Now, interestingly, the I think I might have mentioned this, but the rocket is shot by a huge gun, so that was interesting. But they shoot it off. They weren't really ready for the for the launch, as we would call it today. They weren't ready for that, actually. They hadn't done all the tests they wanted to do, etc., etc., but they needed to get it done before the people stopped it. The people who were tired, who just wanted a break. Well, that's where it ends. Now, for me, I was sort of conflicted at the end of this movie because, I was wondering. This is H.G. Wells. He's an older man by now. He's been through World War One, which was pretty rough on the world. He's seen all kind of new technologies. The car came along, tanks, airplanes. Things are changing. People in the United States, the farms are starting to. More people are going into the city, etc. At this point. Farms are dying. That is, an agricultural life. It's not what it once was. So the world has changed a whole lot for H.G. Wells by this time. And so I wonder, maybe he himself is going, man, I'm sort of worn out. And we keep pressing forward with new technology. And of course, I can relate to that. I used to think that my grandmother, who lived from about 1895, 6, somewhere in there, so 93, I can't remember. She lived for 103 years. So what did she see? She saw everything that H.G. Wells saw, plus she saw Man on the Moon. She saw more war all over the place. She saw the confusion of the 1960s, the change of just social mores and things that happened beginning in the 60s and on into the 70s and 80s. She saw a lot. And I used to think, man, she has been through a lot. But although I'm not as old as she is, boy, I have been through a lot. You see, because I can remember when we just had a black and white TV. I can remember when we had tape cassettes for music. That was cool. I can remember when we had 8-track for music. That was cool. I can remember when I got my first computer. I can remember going to the computer room at college to work on a computer in order to be able, having to take turns with other people with computers, which is something that if you have nothing and you'll be happy, that's where everybody's going to be one day. If that's our modern technocrats want that to happen, right? I had to sit around and twiddle my thumbs while somebody else was typing on the computer for their 15 minutes, and then once they got done, I got to get on for my 15 minutes, right? Uh, no cell phones of any type. Certainly not ones who like this one I'm talking to you right now on, right? So things have changed immensely. So if my grandmother was worn out, if H.G. Wells was worn out, well, I can tell you, I'm often worn out myself. So I'm conflicted because I appreciate that. So the movie was about people who wanted to stop and let's take a break. And it was about the universal conquering with technology. And that's something that, you know, uh, what was Wells' point? Was he saying we ought to go forward? The whole movie, the good stuff that had happened, certainly the bad stuff was war and pestilence and brutish dictatorship. So a benevolent dictator that was a technocrat who cared about technology and making everything work with an advanced technology, that certainly seems better, but it was still a dictatorship. It was a centralized dictatorship. So somewhere in there, we got to find the answer. And our forefathers came up with an answer, and that was we're going to have states that have power. We have local governments that have power. And the local governments provide power to the state. And then the states get together for the common good, for defense. And the states provide an army to protect everybody. But other than that, most things should be done on the local level. Now, every town, you need a democratic kind of situation. You don't want to be every town after the war and pestilence where a dictatorship type warlord runs you. And we don't have that. But neither do you want to have a central government that runs everything for you, that is far removed from you. And they just see all the rules and regulations and technologies as the answers to everything. And they're not there on the ground with you. I just watched a news report today of a woman who got put in jail because she had an injunction against people who had were what do you call it, squatters in her house. I think it was her mother's house, who were squatting, who had taken over her house. And she came and she told them they needed to get out. And she actually had an order from the court to do that. She just didn't have it with her, I think. I'm not sure. And the police came and arrested her because instead of doing something sensible, the governor had passed a bill. All right? So just stupid. She went to jail because she was harassing these people about being in her house. Anyway, hopefully we can get our heads together here in the coming year, and we can make some good decisions, whatever they are, on a personal level, on a national level. Please subscribe, hit like, and have a good day.